Hello and welcome to 16 Ounce Cinema Directors Gallery. I'm TJ. I'm here with Mike.
What's up?
And we are continuing our Mario Minute series, looking at Mario Bava's filmography with his 1964 Western, The Road to Fort Alamo, the
Which
movie Joe Dante regrets not seeing in theaters.
Is that true?
Yes,
I
it's
guess
in
that
an
has to be true.
anecdote. I have the quote from him. It's in Tim Lucas's book. It says, "The poster said it was directed by John Old, so I didn't know it was the new Mario Bava picture. I went to see the feature, and as I walked in, Road to Fort Alamo was on and had about 10 more minutes left to run. I could tell it was a Bava film immediately." And he talks about how he recognized it. "And I sat there feeling sick because it was the last day of the booking and I knew that I'd screwed up and would probably never get a chance to see it again. To this day," which is like 2007, "I still haven't seen The Road to Fort Alamo."
Oh,
Yeah, he's a big, I don't know if I talked about it on the show, but he comes
no.
up a bunch in the Tim Lucas book because he was a big fan of Bava back in the day when like cult films that was really like a cult, very underground, and he helped like bring more attention to Bava, like even back then, but then held on to it as the films became more available in the U.S.
Well, he must have missed his most boring movie, so whatever. But
Yeah, right, yeah.
but the poster for this movie, I don't know if you saw it, is fucking amazing. It's like this super jacked up Indian holding a
Oh,
spear, like
yes.
laying in a field of dead, and it's like, what the fuck? I want to see that
It is.
movie.
It's on the Wikipedia there. Yeah.
That movie is badass. That is like an Indian
Right.
massacre in a valley. It's just totally nothing to do with my movie or our movie that we watched.
Right. Just a little background, and then I'll go over the plot because this movie is like super obscure, and we had to go to the back channels to get it. So we'll go over the plot and then talk about the movie. We've already said it's the most boring movie. You might not recognize that there's any talent behind the camera with him, but this is actually the last time he's collaborated with his cameraman, whose name was Trezano, his editor, Sarandre, and his assistant director, Franco Prosperi.
We just fire them all or what?
Well, most of them left for money. It says Terzano left because he was fed up
Reasonable.
with everyone looking at his work and saying that Mario Bava was responsible. So he was an artist who wanted more credit for what he did, and he basically went off and didn't do much, but made more money. But Franco, who is the assistant director, has this quote in the Tim Lucas book, and there's a blurb of it actually on the Wikipedia too. "Mario was useless at making westerns. He had no talent for it. I disown that movie completely. It was kind of a disaster. Everything started with the idea of a producer, a famous one who later went to jail, and there's another person involved." It says who they all met. We had a lot of money because he was back. As soon as
Yeah, that was a bit on the wiki
no, that's
too.
it. That's it. Yeah, he kind
Only
of
the
went
first
on.
sentence though. That's funny.
"I quit Mario's crew because I was earning more from Americans." Yeah, I thought there was more in the middle of it. I had just a screen cap of the page. But yeah, so
I don't know if you can
assistant
disown a
director.
movie like that you're a part of, that you wrote, or
Right,
whatever.
our
Yeah,
assistant
yeah,
directed.
assistant director. Yeah.
Yeah, but this
Ah, that
is
was shitty.
there's,
I disown it. It's not mine. Ah.
there's no sense of style in this movie. So
No.
so the plot. You have King Clark is Bud Massady or Bill Mannerly, I guess if you watch the Italian version.
Or John Smith.
The copy we got mixed the two, I think, to give a complete film. So some parts were dubbed and some parts were subtitled.
Yeah.
Anyway, he basically
The transition was fucking weird, man. Every time I was like, "What's going on?"
yes. So basically, the story is he's a kind of wayward ex-soldier who's broke, and he gets involved with some outlaws. And he at the beginning he finds a requisition order off of a dead
Yeah, hang on.
Union
If you
soldier.
actually just talk about the plot, like, so this guy finds a requisition order for a bunch of money, and then
Right.
him and a bunch
a
of
payroll,
criminals,
the
like,
whole payroll fund for an entire
Yeah.
like platoon or whatever.
yeah, and then him and a bunch of criminals like steal the money from a bank, and then they have to
I think-
pretend they're soldiers when they get caught. Like
Well,
that sounds
they get-
awesome.
They get attacked by Indians. who
Yeah,
steal
and also
the,
lots of Indian attacks.
the money, or steal half the money, and they're rescued by the soldiers. And since they had dressed up as soldiers to fake the requisition at the bank to begin with. Now they're stuck, having to pretend to be soldiers and trying to figure out, first of all, how do they get away from the army? How do they not get killed by Indians? And how, if possible, can they get the money?
Yeah.
Which, yeah, that's a really good plot or premise for a Western. Yeah. But there's nothing to it. Oh, nope. And also, he's left with one outlaw who, well, he has two of his buddies there with him, but one outlaw is like really a bad guy.
Oh, yeah.
But they don't really make much of him.
Nah.
So, actually, the first time I watched this, I kept falling asleep. And so I figured I needed to
ruin your life by watching it twice.
So I watched it in 3 times speed.
Oh.
It took me like 25 minutes, and I was like doing other things at the same time. I just jumped back in. It was funny because at 3 times speed, everyone talks like they're in Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
But even at 3 times speed, like you see, there's no style. The camera, especially as you're watching it fast, you can notice that the camera does not move much. And except for the action, there's not a ton of editing. It's a lot of medium shot, or like Mario just plants the camera at the end of a long road and watches the horses approach.
Mm-hmm.
It's very dull, like visually. Like he gets in those caves.
Yeah, it's just not exciting. The whole thing.
Right. In the caves, he has like his color lighting, which I learned is called gel lighting. And but not a lot of it, because obviously to do more would kind of not make sense, or he just didn't care. Like it just really seems like...
I did write that I love the sets. I thought the sets were cool. Like
the caves,
even though
had his touch.
Yeah.
But then
I like seeing the old Western backgrounds that are just like non-moving pieces, like painted somewhere. I was like, that's cool.
Well, I mean, that is part of his thing. But normally, his paintings are so good, his mats are so good, you don't, register them. Like, think of The Whip and the Body. He matted in that castle on the cliffside, but he did it really well. Like that was one of his big things that he got known for, and how he even got the credentials to become the director. He started with his mats.
Let's talk about the coolest thing that a character did in this movie, which is show up at a saloon at 6 a.m. and order 6 eggs, bread, bacon, and whiskey.
Yeah, this huge breakfast, right? And
that made me think this movie's going somewhere, but no, that was the end of the cool.
Well, what's also interesting is that this is a scene where he meets up with Slim, who introduces him to the rest of the outlaws led by Carson. Right? And he meets him, at like 6 a.m. and they're still going with a poker game, which, okay, maybe. And like he gets in this barroom brawl with this guy who you almost think like he's going to come back, right? Like he gets in a barroom brawl and beats up the town sheriff. And then, I guess later when they're holding up the bank, the sheriff comes in, but it's not like he really recognized them. He just saw all these soldiers and was like weirded out by it. And then Carson kills an old lady when they're picking up the money, and that's kind of like tips off the sheriff that these guys aren't above board. Like everything
Wait a minute, my soldiers wouldn't do that.
Right. Everything was going so fine for them as they're counting out the money, and then they like bust around the counter like, you're just throw it all in the bag, don't count it. And like the bankers are like, well, that's not normal. And then they shoot an old lady dead.
Yeah,
like they totally blew their cover.
All that Carson's fault.
So they end up with the army. There's a woman there she killed somebody who was trying to rape her or something, and now she's like going to Fort Alamo to go to jail. She's a hot redhead, so that's like the only bright spot of the entire movie for me. I actually looked up to see if she was going to be in any more of the Bava films, and she's not. But she is in one that...
Was that Janet?
Yeah. She's in a spy movie that's directed by Ricardo Freda. If you remember, Freda was the director who got Bava his start with Lust of the Vampire, I, Vampire, and that other one that had all the stock footage.
Oh my god, she is in a movie called Hercules Against the Moon Men, which I want to see now.
Yeah. I think I used to own that one, but it was a really shitty, like, dollar store DVD.
Oh, it looks shitty. As Earth's Mightiest Titan battles moon monsters. Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks awful. But anyway.
Right. So, and even at 75 minutes, this movie just drags. There's no
Mm.
style. The action's okay, especially at the end.
See, I didn't think it was like, I didn't think it dragged. I thought it was like totally, like, I thought it went fairly fast. It's just it just wasn't exciting, but I thought it was fine. Like,
Right.
it'd be weird. It's weird that it's a Mario Bava movie. It's like he was super depressed or drunk or something.
Exactly. I think that's definitely where it fails. Like, he could have done something. Even
Like, if you made this movie, I'd be like, this is the greatest movie ever made.
if you kept the story almost intact too, like
Yeah.
if he had energy in the direction of it, I think it still could have worked. And Ken Clark's not super charismatic, but
No.
I
Well,
think
he was a failed actor, and so he became a coal miner.
no, I didn't look him up on that.
That's his life. That's Ken Clark's life.
I
He
might
was
have
born in
glazed
Ohio.
over it in the
Yeah,
Tim
he
Lucas
died in
book.
Ohio. He was in the Navy, and then he tried to be an actor, but he just did a bunch of B movies, and then just went back to being a coal miner.
Wow. All right. So yeah, not a lot of charisma from our lead. So that definitely hurts it. Also, the music is so awful and annoying.
Awesome. Oh, I liked
No.
it. I actually specifically wrote that the intro song is amazing, and then the sound at the beginning, and then the end is really cool.
I couldn't tell if he was singing in English or Italian.
No, I don't remember.
I hated that song, and the music just blares, and it just a lot of times it just doesn't make sense either. It just blasts through the whole thing. I feel like this is going to be a true Mario minute because I don't.
No, I think we overstayed our welcome even.
Yeah, because I even watched this. What? 1 1/3 time, like 'cause I watched at 3 times speed, and even at 3 times speed, I was like, "There's really nothing.
No.
This is just a nothing movie." This is almost the straw that broke the camel's back because we've taken the longest time ever to come around to recording this episode.
Yeah, we didn't really.
But next time is Planet of the Vampires, and I am super excited for that. And from there, we're gonna have a really good stride of good movies. Oh, the other thing was this was one of this came out. Oh, it was either a month before, or I think it was a month before A Fistful of Dollars. To give you an idea, like how like behind the times this movie ended up being, and how like low energy, since 1 month later, spaghetti westerns were born.
Yeah.
So, all right. So that was Road to Fort Alamo, and we'll see you next time with Planet of the Vampires.
Later.
See ya.